Good Monday morning, a big football Monday, and the NFL never ceases to amaze. We all felt like we had a pretty good beat on what was going to happen with both the Jets and the Giants, and the Jets end up beating the 5-0 Philadelphia Eagles, getting to 3-3 before the bye. Turnovers, great defense, able to run the ball. Still some issues with Zach Wilson, but hell, they won this football game, so hats off to Rob Saleh and New York Jets beating the Philadelphia Eagles. And I did pick the Giants to cover, but not like this. No way in hell did I expect this game to go the way that it did. I was in awe watching this football game and the Giants defense playing the way that they did, and Bobby Okereke all over the place, and Tyrod Taylor having an opportunity at the end of the first half and him blowing it, and then at the end of the game, and then Darren Waller and the whole thing. Just amazing how that played out, and the Giants deserve better. They should have won the game. They should have won that game last night. I don't know if it would have saved their season, but they let that one slip away. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. I'm doing great. For both teams, the Jets were +4 in the turnover window, and the Giants were +2. Neither team turned the ball over. That's why these games are close. I think the Buffalo Bills should write a complaint letter to the NFL and say, look, man, if you're going to send us to London, you can't have us go over there for 3 days and then play a team that's been over there for 2 weeks and then come back and play the next weekend, because it looked like they were sleepwalking. But nonetheless, I thought the Giant defense and the Jet defense played their asses off last night. There's a lot to get to in both of these games, especially at the end of the game for the Giants and at the end of the first half for the Giants. At the end of the game, the last pass to Darren Waller, there's pass interference again. Yeah. There's holding and pass interference again, and it is not called.
Well, so people did that still image, and there's clearly a grab of the jersey of Darren Waller. Now, Darren Waller also has his hand in the face of the defender, so there were Bills fans that were clapping back, saying, what about illegal hands in the face, or what about him pushing off the defender?
Everybody knows that when you grab the jersey, you're going to get called, but it wasn't. Yeah. And they had just previously they just called a pass interference. Yeah. Against the Bills, it would. I don't know. All I'm saying is that I thought it was pass interference, but the end of the first half was just mind-numbing for Tyrod Taylor to hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley with, again, 15 seconds to go. I mean, like, the rule of thumb is 16 seconds is what you need to run a play. If you run it quickly, if you run it on time, not if the quarterback's running around and then throwing the ball in bounds. But if you're running a play on time, you should be able to get up to the line of scrimmage and snap the ball to be able to down it and clock it with 16 seconds left to go, as opposed to 15 seconds. But, I don't know. It just is so many opportunities for the Giants. And this was the week, it seemed like, because there was very little offense, with the exception of Jacksonville and Miami. There was very little offense throughout the NFL. And for the Jets, I mean, this has been a gauntlet of quarterbacks. And I think Rob Saleh touched on this after the game. I didn't hear everything that he said, but I was thinking about this. They played Josh Allen and beat them.
Yeah.
They played the Kansas City Chiefs. It was tough. They should have beaten them, but they really shut down Patrick Mahomes. And now Jalen Hurts. Think of those three quarterbacks that the Jet defense, especially the Jet defense, under the circumstances that it had been under yesterday, without their best defensive backs, without their best offensive line, with all the issues that they had going into this game. And I do think that Rob Saleh did give Jeff Ulbrich, their defensive coordinator, a lot of credit in the staff for putting together that defensive performance. But it was a knockdown, drag out. Both games, by the way, were played by both teams in New York that looked like they were really, really desperate. And it was obvious that Saquon Barkley is the missing piece for the New York Giants, because they almost won the game, without Daniel Jones, but Saquon Barkley looked like he was shot out of a cannon.
No, absolutely. He looked as healthy as we've ever seen him, and I thought maybe he would be limited or he wouldn't look the same, and he looked absolutely great. So, yes, that is a big part of why they were losing some games. But still, it's not like they scored a bunch of touchdowns last night. It's still the problem. Now, I know it's Tyrod Taylor and not Daniel Jones, and maybe this offense looks a lot better with Saquon Barkley in these previous games where we watched the Giants offense be terrible, but really it was about the Giants defense last night. That was the Giant team that we saw last year. The one that was in every game, the one that even took the better opponents to the end, the one that would find a way to scrap and claw. But, of course, this season has been different, and there's been a lot of big mistakes, and we saw that last night. And as far as the Jets go and where they are right now heading into the bye at 3-3, as great as that is, that they have a season right now, it's almost more infuriating to think about the Aaron Rodgers injury because the way that they are playing around Zach Wilson, if they had Aaron Rodgers in there, we'd be talking about one of the best teams in the NFL.
This is why they wanted Aaron Rodgers.
And everything we expected with Aaron Rodgers there as a quarterback, I believe would have been happening. I believe they could be sitting here at 5-1 with him as a quarterback, maybe even 6-0. If they beat the Dallas Cowboys, that was the one game you felt like they really got their asses kicked, and maybe they wouldn't have won that game. But, I mean, this is just like, it's infuriating. Now, he's out on the field before the game throwing. He's throwing with his boot on, but no crutches or anything. And I will stand by this statement, not that I believe it is the right thing to do. This guy will tell the Jets at some point during the regular season, I am playing. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, he's going
All right,
to
well,
do
it's
it.
fine. Good luck to him. And I was happy to see him on the sideline. I was happy to hear that he was there on Saturday because I do believe just his presence alone brings a level of stability to that football team. And it shows that he cares and that he wants to be a part of it. So I'm all for that. Whether or not he's going to be able to play, I mean, good luck with that. Really good luck with that.
No, I mean, Cam Akers was the only one to do it, and he's obviously like 20 years younger than Aaron Rodgers is, and he came back and was miraculous, and people never saw that before. But
just remember what quarterbacks have to do with their feet, and plus he's not going to be practicing for at least 10 weeks. Come on.
Trust me, I know all of that. I'm just telling you, knowing this guy's personality, there's going to be a time, it's going to be fascinating to see, that the Jets are going to be still in the conversation for the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers is going to go to these guys, and I'm talking Joe Douglas, Rob Saleh, Nate Hackett, Woody Johnson, and they rolled out the red carpet for this guy. It was his organization in the preseason and the training camp, and Aaron Rodgers is going to tell them, I'm ready to go. And they're going to have to look at him and say either okay or not. And that's going to be a fascinating thing to see. But the good news is that I think that Jets fans and all of us watching believe that they can be in that conversation to make the postseason by the end of the year with the way that this team has played around Zach Wilson. And there was just so many damn opportunities for him to step up last night and yesterday afternoon where they had the ball and could have gone down, gotten a field goal, scored a touchdown. And it's just like, sack here. And
I also drop passes, too. I would just say, look, just don't turn the ball over, kid. Just whatever you do, because the defense is obviously good enough to keep him in these games. And when he doesn't turn the football over, here comes the fourth quarter, and you're right there.
Yeah.
And I also think Rob Saleh said that this is a league of equality, and he is exactly right. You never know what kind of condition a team is going to be in when you play them, mentally and physically. I thought Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter yesterday looked like he was completely out of it. And I don't know why, at the end of the game, why the Philadelphia Eagles are even trying to throw the ball on third down. I mean, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you saw what the Jets' offense was doing.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like,
you talk about a lack of self-awareness and team awareness.
Right, just run the ball. They were out of timeouts at that point.
You
knock
run
off
the
another
ball
40
and you
seconds
punt
off.
it.
Right.
And then good luck to Zach Wilson to see if he can move the ball and go where he needs to go in order to win the game, which I don't think is going to happen. So I don't know what the hell Nick Sirianni was thinking. I really don't.
Well, what they were thinking was, like, let's win the game with a pass here because we should be able to complete it because we're the Philadelphia Eagles. But
did you see how Jalen Hurts was playing yesterday?
They weren't playing well.
God, I mean,
they weren't playing well.
You got to take a look at your quarterback and say, okay, I know we paid him a lot of money and he's our leader, but my God, there are certain things that coaches do in this league that just drive everybody crazy week in and week out, and that's one of them. If you just do what you would expect to do, let's say he had somebody back there. Let's say he had Jalen Hurts in year one. And he was in that situation. What would he do? He would hand the ball off, punt it, and play defense.
Yeah.
So, and yesterday, given the fact that, Hassan Reddick was like a man on a mission, I'd want that guy on the field trying to win the game for me as opposed to the way that the offense was playing yesterday from the Eagles standpoint. So, but this is not an Eagles show. This is about the Jets and about the Jet defense and the unbelievable performance they put on yesterday. That was like a desperation performance. I saw that both from the Jets and the Giants, for that matter.
No, absolutely. I mean, that was the best that we saw the Giants defense play in a very, very long time. I mean, even back to last year, that's the best we'd seen them play. So, yes, that was a desperation thing. But the Giants season now at 1-5, it would take an absolute miracle for them to get back into any sort of playoff discussion. But the Jets are right there. They are right there, and they've got to feel just tremendous with everything that has gone on in this season for them. And they've still got their issues, and I don't think that they're going to be, going to an AFC title game or a Super Bowl with Zach Wilson. But with all the crap that they've gone through this year, to be heading into the bye after beating the Philadelphia Eagles at 3-3. I mean, I've had my issues with Rob Saleh this year, but you got to give him credit this morning. You absolutely have to give that coaching staff and those players as much credit as possible this morning for saving their season. They saved their season heading into the bye week, and then they get the Giants on the other side of the bye week, which, as we know, is a winnable game for them. They could be over 500, and here you go.
That would be amazing. That would really be amazing. And the Giants have Washington next week, who did win a game at Atlanta yesterday, and Sam Howell played reasonably well. And I would just say that these two teams next week are going to be pretty much even. Yeah. Especially if Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones is going to play, and Saquon Barkley is ready to go and play the way that he played last night. They'll give the Commanders all they can handle. It'll be another close game. But I will say this: that Tyrod Taylor needs to know better. I mean, he's been around the league for a long time. And I know he hasn't played a lot, and, he gets thrust into this starting road, to start on the road in Buffalo, of all places, which is a very difficult place to play. And for the most part, I thought he did really what a backup quarterback should do: give your team a chance to win. But to check to a run at the end of the first half, and then the first half end on the 1 yard line, it's just a killer situation, and he needs to know better. And he did say, he goes, "I'll do better next time." I'm like, this is why you're on your fifth or 16th, whatever it is. I mean, it's moments like that unfortunately for him, he's been around long enough to know. This is not a rookie quarterback. This is not somebody, who doesn't sit in the meetings or out of practice and is a part of the team. Everybody loves the guy, respects the guy, but that's the decision right there that you can't make. It's like the Zach Wilson thing at the end of the half last week. You just cannot make that decision. Now, I don't know why Kafka or Brian Daboll wouldn't tell him.
Well, they did, apparently. So Brian Daboll, after the game, said that they communicated that obviously this is a play that you can check into a run, but we're not going to.
Well, then
because of the time situation. Daboll did say that. He said, because someone asked, was it a communication thing? He said, no, we communicated to him that you cannot check it to a run into this situation. So I don't know why he did it. Was it either just a complete and utter brain fart, or did he say, hell, I think we can score here?
He did that, or he was afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's easy to run the ball in that situation, and hopefully you do score, and Saquon does do something spectacular, because the other alternative is you're throwing it, and maybe he just didn't want to throw it.
Maybe.
You throw it out of bounds. You don't have to try to complete every pass, whatever. Now, and it's easy to say that had they kicked that field goal, it would have been 14-12 late in the game. You don't know how the game would have unfolded had the game been closer. You don't know what Buffalo would have done, either offensively or defensively, if that were the case late in the game.
Sure, but bottom line was having more points in that situation would have helped them.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
It's not like we could just say that, hell, we don't know what was going to happen. Of course, having either, scoring a touchdown there or kicking that field goal there was going to, especially the way the game was going. They had shut out the Buffalo Bills into the fourth quarter.
Which is unbelievable when you think about it. And I think it goes back to the fact that Buffalo, I don't know, either they just were not up for this game, mentally thinking that it was the Giants and it was all these backups that were playing for the Giants, or it was the fact that they had to go to London.
Yeah, but also Sunday Night Football in your building with the crowd being crazy. How do you not get up for that game? I could understand how you're exhausted physically and the thing threw you off, but I can't imagine that they weren't up for the game. And I also, maybe the Giants just played the best game they could have possibly played. I can't just say because the Giants should have won this game that Buffalo sucked or Buffalo was tired. It was the first time we saw the Giants actually put together essentially a real competitive effort.
Yeah, you're right.
For 4 quarters.
Yes, and led by their defense, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And Saquon Barkley. That's what I did. That's the other one I would say. I would say that, watching him run, I was surprised they actually played him in this game.
Yeah, there's a few guys out there that really still make a difference at the running back position. He's one of them, and this is why he was so pissed about the contract situation. because he knows. And he's probably saying to himself, too, it's no surprise that we had an opportunity to win on the final play of the game on the road against one of the NFL's best teams when I was playing in this game. In some of these other games where I wasn't in there, we look like absolute crap. I mean, he's probably, he's thinking that, especially with the fact that he didn't get the type of money that he was expecting this offseason. So he's one of those guys that deserve to get paid at that position. I mean, I'm not talking like insane wide receiver or left tackle money, but more than what he got. And he means so much to that team, and he's got to feel in some way, even though the contract is still what it is, in some way vindicated with the way that this season has gone.
I would think so. But again, because he's missed games,
I know.
You could also look at it from that standpoint, too,
100%.
that we're not going to see him for 17 games. We may see him for 10 to 12 to 14 games.
Absolutely, that's true. Where you figure maybe Joe Shane and Brian Daboll felt vindicated when he got hurt, saying, well, this is why we can't give you the money.
So there's back and forth, yes. There's no question he's a top-end player, and when he plays like he played last night, he's a difference maker, especially in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a crazy day and night of football, and we've got one team that is in it in the New York Jets, 3-3 heading into the bye. Jerry Recco's going to give you all the sound, the highlights, the post-game interviews coming up in just a couple of minutes. It's Boomer and Gio on a Football Monday.